Okay, good evening. Welcome to Phil Goes Deep. I'm really sorry. I'm 5 minutes late starting, and you can see my green screen is not playing ball for some reason. Trying to sort the lighting out on there. I think it's the clips. I haven't tightened the screen, so it's got it's not very good. So hopefully the audio's working. Everything else is going wrong. Shout out to TR1 Lux, Trilux. Don't know how you say that. Hopefully the audio's good. Can you just let me know on that front? What have we got going on tonight? So it's Phil Goes Deep. We're back with GRC Community Service. So it's been around a year since I started doing the channel, and one of the first things I did there was GRC Community Service. So I went onto the GRC community, the ServiceNow community, under the GRC forums, and just started trying to help people with the questions and answer them live. And I've got my kids to actually help me with a few props. So I've got t-shirt sizes on lollipop sticks. Can hear me clearly. Excellent, thank you. You can't see that very well in the light. So it's all. Let's just check. Maybe that's why. Let's just move this light. I've actually borrowed my wife's nail light for doing nails. So everything's opening in the UK on Monday. So her new beauty salon's going to be claiming this light back, and I'll be getting my hair cut. So it's still a bit bright, isn't it? Let's have a look. There we go. That's a large t-shirt. Thanks, Isla. We've got here medium. Yeah, medium. And there's a small one kicking around somewhere. So yeah, these were made about a year ago. I can't find the small one. But what I said was I would rate the issues and the questions that are getting raised on the community, and I'll give them a score. So medium, small. Anyway, that didn't work because what I found was when I set a timer and tried to kind of restrict and gamify the stream, it just meant that I wasn't really putting the quality into the answers that I wanted to give. So I stopped doing that, and then I got kind of a few other things have come up, and I've been focusing a lot on Quebec recently, and I realised that it's been at least a month since I really posted to the GRC community. So just wanted to see where things were coming from. So I've got a Mentimeter linked in the description on this video. Let me just see how I can get to the video from here. If I open that, hopefully it doesn't play. It's already posted to it starts playing. GRC community, so oh, there we go. A little bit of a delay. Yeah, so that Menti, you can from there. Here we go. Got it over here, and I've also got it set up on my OBS. Where we are with the word cloud. So just try and hide that. You'll see on this next cut that my green screen's appalling, and I really don't know what to do about it. It's just, it seems to be the lighting. See if I can direct that. Yeah, apologies for the technical issues tonight. I've tried to do a few things and none of them have really worked. So let's just switch it over. So I'm down here. You can see the Mentimeter word cloud. Maybe I should increase the opacity on that. I'm not sure. But we've got setting up a RAM. So that's a risk assessment methodology. We've got a tree picker on entities, risk statement hierarchy, creating a heat map, risk, and compliance. So if you go to the link in the description and you can submit to that Mentimeter, for example, let me try it. If you go to menti.com, In fact, I can do it from here. No, that's the heat map. If I go to menti.com and I need the code. Oh yeah. What's the code? There is a code you can enter. Let me try it in the other window. We'll get going in a minute. I'm just trying to set these things up. So we'll hit a bit of speed in a moment. I'll get the code. And you can actually use Mentimeter. We've used it in the company in Rangoon for quizzes, and you get a leaderboard. I've used it in customer workshops as well for, sometimes you get up in a workshop and you get up on the whiteboard and you're trying to drag it out of people. You can actually use this. There's more that's coming in. Excellent. So the code that we want to enter in here is 94743137, and when you do that, it takes you to here. Now I could put in here that I know, for example, Jimmy Garcia hopefully he watches this back. When you submit that, you should see that changes. I tell you what, that's not refreshing. That's the problem. One moment, let me just figure this out. Why does that not refresh? Properties, refresh browser when scene becomes active. Okay, well, you can see that coming in now. So when we click into the heat map here, you can see priorities, consensus, processes. I just put UCF in there for Jimmy. KISS. I guess that's keep it simple, stupid. How do you keep it simple in GRC? I mean, that might be a good question. So it looks like embedding it on there doesn't really work. So what we'll do, we can just keep coming back to this. But yeah, using Mentimeter to kind of get a little bit of engagement from your audience, having a bit of fun, having quizzes, checking understanding. So you could, ask the question to the audience that you're working with in the form of a kind of quiz, and rather than trying to teach people things from the very beginning of, they might already know the stuff, or you might be a mile ahead. So you can use Mentimeter to kind of just judge where the audience is at. Ask some tough questions, ask some easy questions, and based on the kind of results of the quiz, pitch the workshop accordingly. So it's a really great tool, and we can use it for today. So what I've also got is I've selected from the community the stories that I'm saying stories, the answers, the questions that were posted, and I'm going to try and answer these. So I haven't added them to a sprint yet. I was trying to set up a REST API that I could then tick along down the bottom of the stream and show the number of different issues in a different state. These are all kind of sitting in draft state and so on. So I was trying to do that ahead of time, just trying to do a bit too much, I think. That's, we could spend a bit of time trying to set up the REST API, but today is about GRC community service and trying to just work through some of these issues. So in no particular order, and I've not really used Agile development too much, but I thought I would make use of the platform. I'm just going to add all of these to my sprint. I've estimated them as well, so I've given them a small and medium rating. Just drag these up. Can't right click from here. Okay. Drag that. So I see a few more people joining on the stream. So welcome. You've probably missed the technical difficulties that always ensue when I try and do too much. I've got 12 story points in here. I've said that I've got a capacity in this sprint. It's a 2-hour sprint. I've got a capacity of 10 points. But let's just start the sprint, and unfortunately, you're not going to see live stats on the bottom of the ticker unless I see overwhelming response from people that you want to work on a REST API right now. But the REST API is actually working. It's the Python script that I'd have to run locally in the terminal, and the shell script that will poll constantly to my instance to pull that down and create a text file that ticks along at the bottom of the stream. But that might not be very interesting to people. So I've got a sprint board here. I'm just going to pick on the first one in the list. I don't know if that's in the right order, but this story, I don't think you'll see it from here. I'm going to call them stories from now on because they're actually posts on the community. Yes, I've added a URL field. So I can't set it ready because it needs acceptance criteria, of course. So I'll say question is answered. I mean, I'm not going to wait for it to be marked correct, but if I say the question is answered, that's acceptance criteria for me. Okay, so I can click this link, and I'll just have to make sure that I'm logged in. If you have just joined in, check the link in the description for the word cloud. At the moment, we've got a few topics on here. So as well, if you're working with a Mentimeter in like in the room or remotely with your team, and you see a theme on the screen like UCF or compliance or priorities, then try and use the same wording, because what will happen with a word cloud, of course, for example, if I go in here and vote, is it set up RAM? Okay, set up RAM. If I use exactly the same words, then the word cloud will receive that and then make it more prevalent on the screen, more obvious. If I put RAM on its own, it won't recognise the difference. It will treat the phrase. So have a look what's going on the screen and use that as well. But yeah, setting up a RAM, maybe we'll get to that. But I wanted to try and use this as a bit of a communication, a bit of engagement, collaboration, and we'll try and talk around some of these topics. But if I was in the room or doing a virtual workshop with a customer or an organisation, I'd be saying, okay, I see a little bit of focus on risk assessment methodologies here. Who's suggested this, and let's talk about it. Let's see what it means, because, for example, I don't really know what consensus means in this context. So I'd be asking, what do you mean by consensus? And then hopefully the person that's posted that kind of engages and we can have a conversation. There's a few things in here, and I like the fact that we've got some entries. This could have been a blank board. So okay, this is the community, and I'm trying to maintain my pole position here. And Jan, who is a principal technical trainer at ServiceNow, and absolutely amazing on the community. She does so much to answer people's questions. I'm only just sitting 100 points ahead of her, and I don't know how I've done that, given that I've not really been on the community too much. So I think that's more luck than anything. But I'm trying to widen that lead over Jan just for a bit of fun. But story here, let's call it 1006. This is now ready. And I'm going to say it's in progress because I'm actually looking at it. I've got no description, don't need anything else. Let's have a look. What is the question? And it's from Mark. Actually, I've got in reverse order because Mark posted this only 3 hours ago, and I said to Mark, I'm adding this to tonight's backlog, and it's here. It's somehow usurped all the other posts. And it's the first one we're looking at. So issue assignments from Mark. We'd like to change the workflow when an issue is created. After an attestation or indicator task failure, well, actually an issue will fail from an indicator failure, not necessarily an indicator task. Any indicator failure, any attestation failure, also a control test failure as well. Issue management in ServiceNow GRC is probably one of the kind of most complex topics, because issue is shared by compliance, it's shared by risk, it's shared by audit, but they all have a slightly different kind of level of involvement, and the flows are slightly different. And to be honest, version 12 of GRC is out now, and I've not dug into that at all. So and I think actually my PDI, my personal developer instance, is still a little bit broken from the GRC full flow sort of project that I attempted. So I've tried to back out some of those changes. So we might be up against the grain there. But when an issue is created, to assign the issue to a different team for review and to manage the process, our logic is that the control owner might not be as independent as they need to be, and generally would need assistance from the compliance team to put the right processes in place. Okay, so I guess when you say not as independent as they need to be, it's a kind of, okay, you've got an issue, your controls failed, and the control owner says, yeah, I've sorted it out, all done, and there's no governance, there's no kind of four eyes on that process. So, but this needing assistance from the compliance team to put the processes in place. Two questions. Would there be any known ramifications to doing this? So what are we talking about? If we're talking about changing the workflow, that by its own definition is customization. Okay, that's the difference between configuration and customization if you're changing the workflow. Now, issue itself is still left a little bit open. I think what ServiceNow have tried to do is say, look, this is a beast here, and it's not right for ServiceNow to tell every organization exactly prescriptively how to manage issues. It is left open on purpose. Okay, so it's up to an organization to say what needs to be done. And I think a lot of stuff's happened. I've noticed in version 12 there's now a sub-state in there which is for requesting further information, I believe. And we've also got issue triage that was brought in version 11, and we're going to start to see a bit more of that. So we do need to be very careful that we don't break issue. And when we're talking about issue management in the context of compliance, it's even more important than in risk, I would say, because in compliance it affects the ability of your control to be showing as compliance. In risk, if you've got an issue attached, it doesn't really mean anything. It's nice, it's good for evidence, but a control on its own with an issue attached, it could mean a difference between you being green or red. Okay, and that could be critical to an organization. So we do need to be very careful what we do with issue management. And there are some configuration options that are already available. The one thing that I'm thinking about here is, well, the question, would there be any known ramifications to doing this? Okay, so if we're just talking specifically about assigning the issue to a different team for review, I think there's another option here without changing the workflow, without changing that core functionality. Let's just go in. Where are we? So we're in this board. Let's just go and take a quick look at issue. So SNGRC issue.capital-list, just to pop it out in a new window and keep my board open. Hi, Michael. Okay, so just going back to consensus. So Michael Cook, consensus among the project team on requirements and priorities. That's a big one. That is a big one. If I was going to pull out my t-shirts sizes, that's a large one, right? I think that's too big for this show. Trying to get consensus among the project team on requirements and priorities. Yeah, I guess the main point there is making sure that project team is made up of the right people. Okay, so you need to have the right people. You need to have the sponsor. You need to have people that can make decisions. You need to have people that know the existing process, that own the process, and have that responsibility to live it. You need to have, obviously, then the kind of technical implementation team. Sometimes you've got a business analyst, or maybe the technical consultant is made up of people that are able to behave like a business analyst in the project. It depends what your project team is structured. Is it kind of a phased project where you do a project, deliver it, go live, come back, do another project a bit later, or is it that kind of continuous delivery where you've got, you know, more of a agile product owner and a scrum team that's just constantly working through a backlog with different kind of products? It does depend on your setup. Trying to get that consensus among the project team, I think it does come down to understanding, and it's going to be, if anything else, one of the big C's in the agile process, right? Conversation. It's really about conversation for me. You're going to have things you don't agree on, but that's where the decision maker comes in. You're going to have the sponsor as well, who sets the priorities overall, and sometimes you can't all agree, and you can't reach consensus. But I think striving for that is important, having conversations about that. And if you're going to join in on the Menti, you can just go on your phone or on the browser, menti.com, add the code, and you can start contributing. I just saw some things come in here, but this is from a business or technical perspective. So if you're going to say compliance, just do it with a typo, and we'll see that compliant come up as well. So use the phrases that you already see on the board if you see something there. Yeah, I think so, Michael. I think that is an agile organizational and execution question. However, it's relevant. It's very relevant. And one of the biggest problems that I think I experience, and you know, the teams and the organizations I work with, if you're coming to ServiceNow with that background in ITSM, which most of the technical resources have been, the audience that you're dealing with when you're doing a GRC project is very different. You can't talk to them about the technical stuff first and foremost. You know, you've got to really live their world, and that's why I say it comes down to conversation. So we were going to issues. Let's take a look at issues. This one's in Analyze. Now, probably I should go in as a compliance manager, and you can use like personas on your browser as well to switch between impersonations a bit easier. I haven't set that up on this instance on this machine. Okay, I'm on a different profile right now, so I'm in as an admin, so I might see certain things that you wouldn't see as a compliance manager or compliance user. But yeah, look here, version 12 substate. Now if we look at the options, and I've got SNU tools turned on but nothing selected, there basically it's more information required or information requested and information provided. I'm not quite sure how you get to that stage, but just going back to the exam question from Mark, when an issue is created, to assign the issue to a different team for review and manage the process. Well, actually it's very important here. A different team for review. You will have noticed in version 11 the introduction of the issue manager group and the issue manager role. Okay, the group responsible for managing and reviewing the issue, and the issue manager is the user responsible for managing and reviewing the issue. And I think this is a very important introduction. It doesn't change the workflow, but it gives the ability to have that oversight. Okay, and you can, with a few simple changes on the issue, have the, once it moves to review, yeah, look, okay, perfect. So moving to review, now it's going mandatory, so that's quite new. Okay, your issue manager has to be somebody with, let's just show this, has to be somebody with the right role, I believe. Oh, it's dependent on issue manager group. I thought it had a reference qualifier on role. Okay, so reference qualifier, get issue manager group roles, but issue manager group is not mandatory, so therefore I can bypass this. I thought that issue manager, you would want this to be somebody with a GRC manager, GRC user, or create your own custom role there, to say, right, it's somebody that's got some authority in the process. That's done in the group. So if I select the groups, I can only select compliance managers, right? and then I select a risk manager. Okay, so now I can move that to review. Okay, of course, if I'm moving it to review, I need something to review. Due date becomes mandatory. That's strange. For me, that's a strange time to become mandatory of a due date. That should have maybe happened in analyze. Let's say I'm going to remediate it. All fixed. Okay, so all fixed. Go to review. That is a bit slow. I hope it's not logged me out because I took so long talking there. No, okay, and that's excellent, right? Without me changing anything, the whole form's locked down now. Okay, so it's in review state, and if I was risk manager, then I would be able to make a decision here and move it back to respond, right? And say, sorry, need to, you say you've all fixed it, but I'm not happy, etc. So your action plan, all of that stuff. So you've already got here 2 fields that handle the issue manager, okay, and a different team for review, right? You've already got that separate segregation of duty and management of the process. So you could use something very simple like assignment rules. Where do I want to be? In here, assignment rules. And I think there's even something coming. Oh yeah, look. Oh, that's issue triage. Okay, so issue triage out of the box. Don't want to do any spoilers, Michael, but did you have that question? But this is just core assignment rules. It's just prefixed on the menu item, right, for the table equals issue triage. You could put the assignment rules here and say if the, let's take a look at the issue, because we've got issue source, ad hoc, issue type. We wouldn't be assigning that yet. Classification. I think in here, no, I don't know what the options are. Let's just configure. Oh, I never know which one to click. Is it configure choices or show choice list? It always confuses me which one I want. Yes, it's that one. Okay, so compliance. There we go. So value 1, 2, 3, 4. Just remember that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Compliance risk audit vendor. So I'm going to say that's a 1. Okay, that's a little SNU tools trick there. Just to be able to bypass the read-only field. Only good for development. Don't do that in production. There's a reason. So if I say classification, and I think that's a new field as well. Classification is compliance. That's enough for me. I'm going to say compliance manager. That's not the best name. So it applies to compliance manager, and I want to assign it to compliance manager. Oh, does this assign? Yeah, this is no good. This is going to do the assignment group. Assignment group, like the core assignment group. Let's just check. I haven't got one for Quebec. Just want to check it's not configurable. I think it's not. So let me just put it in a script. Okay, so current category, current dot assignment group. Set display value. Oh, I never used that. Enter a script to further customize the assignment rule. Current dot is going to be issue manager. Oh, I lost it. I think it's called issue manager group. Might be wrong, and I'm going to call that compliance manager. Save that. But to be honest, I've never done a script on assignment rules, so I hope I've got that correct. I hope that the applies to has filtered that correctly. That's assignment rule. Oh, my issue's over here. I wanted the name of it. Issue manager group. Yeah, I got it right. Okay, so that assignment rule is active. if I then, sorry, I'm switching browsers around. If I just go to sngrc issue.do and create it as classification 1, which is compliance, and just say test. Oh, it didn't take it. Why did it not take that on insert? There's a business rule here for some reason. Is it because of the details it's not attached to a control? That's a control. Does that change the classification? Yes, it does. Okay, so let's just do that again. Check that that is a control. Yes. Test assignment rule. So it looks like my assignment rule is not working, but I feel like that's just because I haven't set it correctly. If I, just as an example, put in here compliance managers, the following script requires personalizing the issue. Okay, the other thing I could do is just get compliance manager there. Yeah. Let me just grab that sysID, because I'm not happy about using a hard code, well, not hard coded. I'd rather issue manager group dot set value. It's not asking for a current dot update, is it? Release planning. I don't know whether that's going to work. I don't know that you can do it. I would have done it this way around actually. Current dot set value issue manager group, and then so save that. Let's just take a quick look. Have we got anything else coming in on the word cloud? No, but it's nice to just see it move anyway. Processes as well. Advanced risk assessment, RAM. Okay, let's see how we do for time. I feel like I'm really labouring this this one for issue assignment rules. I feel like it's could be an easy answer. Let's just select then this one. I believe that's a control. Yes. Nothing in the assignment group. Nothing in the issue manager group. Just say test assign rule and save. Yes. Okay. So that worked on assignment group. It didn't work on issue manager group, but effectively that's what we're aiming for here. So just going back to Mark's question. Okay, so with regards to assign the issue to a different team for review and to manage the process, you can see since version 11 and also improvements in version 12 of GRC release, that issue manager and issue manager group are introduced for this very purpose. Without really touching any workflow, perhaps with assignment rules or a before business rule, you can set the issue management accordingly. I feel like I've seen something on the release notes or roadmap, at least around, it might be issue prioritization. It's part of the machine learning that's coming as well. It's going to know who to give it to as well, who's best placed. And the other thing that I think I've also seen is machine learning about remediation tasks. So if you're using issues and you don't quite see the value of remediation tasks, but you think remediation tasks might be something good in the future, start using them now. Okay, that will start building your data, and then you'll be able to use that for training in the future, for your training data, for the potential of issue management, machine learning. So the system will say, well, this type of issue, you normally do this, and it will come up with a remediation plan for you, and you'll be able to select it and it'll give you confidence ratings. That's the potential, but if you don't have the data to start with, it can never know. So start using them. I think they're pretty much a zero pain, slightly extra, but the benefit's there. Does anyone know which script would need to be changed? You can do this without scripting. The benefit of the above approach does not change any workflow. The control owner is still responsible, but the issue manager provides oversight, which seems to be what you are asking for. Okay, so the other thing with issue management as well, you don't always have to work the issue. If it's an indicator failure, right, if you're checking weekly, monthly, this thing's good or bad, and it fails, it creates the issue. That issue can be used to track it, right? If you've got overhead and you know that's not going to get solved easily, that can be used to track it and provide the remediation plan and everything else. Okay, it's a great option. It will also give you some view as to how you solved it, right? But you can go to the root cause and solve the root cause. For example, if the server is running low on disk space, I'm going back in time here, I don't know, does this even happen anymore? Or maybe the CPU utilization is reaching and constantly running above 90%. I'm thinking more of data centers monitoring tool sets, but imagine that scenario. You can get an issue to go and order new CPUs or more storage and show the remediation task for doing all of that. But you might be able to make a very simple change that just allocates the additional storage and then rerun the indicator, and it will automatically close it, and all the evidence is backed up in your indicators with your indicator results, the snapshots of your supporting data, so you can see it. You wouldn't necessarily be losing anything. You might lose the approach and the planning, but you don't always need to work the issue. The issue is there as a notification to give you ownership, prioritization, etc. But you can still solve the issue by just fixing the root cause, and there's a little property for that on issue management. Obviously, for control attestation, you need to retake the attestation. So if your control attestation's failed, I can see why an issue might be more relevant there. Let's just put here, also consider the fact that ServiceNow may introduce additional automation around issue triage for system generated failures such as indicators. So changing the entry point process too heavily could create additional work to benefit from issue triage. Don't quite know what that's going to look like, but at the moment issue triage is a manual process. You create the issue triage and take it through a flow, and to be honest, that was one of the biggest changes to issue management. Really love it. Audit observations, it's great. Now if you start to get indicators, etc., generating those issue triages, I think that will change the game. But I'm going to mark that down as a done. Okay, I've answered the question. Have we got any feedback on that? I don't think so. That's taking me back there, which I didn't want. So, complete issue assignments. How are we doing on time? That's taken me like nearly an hour. There's no way I'm getting through this backlog. So we've got more on issue management here, but I've already kind of covered that, and I definitely had that. I didn't assign it to me. The primary assignee. Yes. There we go. Okay, so I think I put that down as a one-pointer. I think this is a one-pointer as well. Why can't you see the details here in the Scrum board? I'm going to open a beer because that might be the only issue we get done, and we're having a red stripe tonight, so take a drink if you're on board, or have a sip of your cup of tea, coffee, water, etc. So what we've got here, how many points on this one? I can't see the points. Oh yeah, points there, 3. So this is a bit bigger, this one. External respondents. I'm going to move on. I just want to go down, say, how do I change the audit report? This one, and it's the first one in the list, so priority wise this one makes sense. Acceptance criteria is question is answered, assign to me, and move this to work in progress. So how do we change the audit report? This is going to get a little bit technical now. Let's just take a quick look on here. Anything changed? No. Looking good though. Okay, let's tidy up some of these browser tabs that you might not see. How do I change the audit report to include the controls tested and results instead of just the issues? The template for audit reports only include issues. However, we need to also demonstrate to our external auditors what controls we actually tested. The ServiceNow documentation provide no information to add additional tables or content into the report. Okay, this one I think I put it as a one-pointer. Don't know what audit I've got installed in here. I think I've got the advanced on. Have I got something that looks pretty safe? Want something not validate, follow up here, test assessment. Okay, so the audit report is something that is possible towards the end of the life cycle of the engagement, and I am on updated versions of audit here, so if you haven't seen some of this stuff before, engagement dates and the ability to build in an audit plan, advanced audit is amazing. There's so much potential now. Audit was the one kind of like the poor cousin that's been left behind. You've got in here, I think that's a custom link there, export report to PDF. If I select a knowledge base here, like audit and report template, default audit report template, okay, and when I save this, I can now see this button, this UI action, generate reports. Okay, that is going to do the same process that you see happen with policy. When a policy gets published, it produces a knowledge article. So if I click generate reports here, it gives you a preview first. That doesn't happen in policy, but then you get the option to edit or publish. So this is quite nice. It's a draft, but it has created the knowledge base article right now, and you can see here name, description, scope, objective results, summary of issues, no issues are associated. We can edit or publish, but if we just close that, it doesn't seem to change. Maybe if I published it, it would populate in there. I've forgotten what happens there. How do we change it? We just go to this report template, and if anybody has worked with Jelly before, you'll know that this is an absolute joy. It's not my favourite. It's very powerful stuff. There are other options in here, and to be honest, I've never done them. I've never used a script like that, but I think there are. You can see how that's done. As much as I don't like Jelly as a personal preference, like, I have to learn it each time. There's cheat sheets around, and I need to shout out somebody who I can't remember right now. The name was mentioned to me. I will come back to it. I'll post it in the description if I can remember in time. That used to post on the community about Jelly, and it was like the one. If you needed anything about Jelly, you just need to search the archives for that person. But effectively, what happens in here, if you've not worked with Jelly before, it is XML. I think Jelly comes from IBM. I don't know too much about it. I think James Neal was saying on his Titans of Now series, well, Rob the Duke's series for Titans of Now with James Neal, that a lot of people misuse Jelly. And I think if used right, then probably there are a lot of benefits. And for me, I just don't understand it very well. And I feel like I don't need to understand it very well because we've got so many other options here. But we've got here G tags evaluate. So this means within here I can write some code, write some JavaScript. That's going to return a variable called profiles, and profile is going to be a glide record. Okay, so that's entities now. If you're just coming to this, it's got issues in here. Okay, so issues are coming in here. What was the question? Oh, the template only includes issues. However, we need to demonstrate what controls we actually tested. Okay, so you just need to see the data model. Let's throw up a little draw.io, and it's another tool. Talking about workshops, talking about collaboration, especially in this remote working situation we're still in. I'll just create a new diagram, and I'll call this audit report. Yeah, to documents, that's fine. Untitled, cancel, hold on. Audit report. Using this tool gives us the ability to share, like, you can collaborate with teams. If you use OneDrive, you can connect it there and you get real-time updates. That's really good. But just having this as a screen share in Teams or whatever your tool is, you can whiteboard ideas, and I use it quite a lot on this stream as well. Slightly loony, thanks Jace. Slightly loony, yes, slightly loony. I can never remember it. I'll tell you why, because I didn't used to use it, and somebody told me about it. It might have been you. Check out jace.pro for all things like ServiceNow, past and present. Jace.pro, literally a catalogue of, I mean, look at all that stuff. I don't know how you do it, Jace. And that's not all. There's so much more on here. The news, resources, tools. Oh no, this is links to other things, right? This is links to other things. Sorry, where's the stuff then for? Where's the like snapshot of all the old versions? Oh, it's referenced somewhere. Jace.pro, check it out. It's a super resource. Yeah, slightly loony if you're looking for jelly logs. So audit report, what have we got? We've got something like an engagement. Okay, that's a task. An engagement has M2M to profiles, right, to entities, and it's got lots of other M2M records that are generated as a result of these M2M. So you've got controls in here, you've got risks, and because of those controls, you've got control tests, right? So those entities, when you move it into validate, it says, okay, here's all the controls and risks you've got, and of those controls, here's all the control tests that we've got for those things. So those control tests then are, they're not control tests, sorry, they are test plans, right? A test plan is, so you've got a test template which is against a control objective. For each control you have a test plan which is for that entity. How do I test that control for that entity specifically? Somehow managed to move that, yeah. And then you have control tests, which are audit tasks, right? So audit tasks is a base table, and then off of here you've got interview, and you've got walkthrough, and you've got, I think it's activity, which could be a standalone task. Sorry, it's a bit sensitive on the gesture there. But then you've got control test, okay, and this is where, this is like the real meat or the high protein substitute is for all the activity in engagement. So let's just move that around. A control test is an instance of a test plan, but these are all tasks. I'll put that there just because they are all of audit task. The control test belongs to the engagement. Okay, so if you look at an engagement, so if I just go to SN audit task.list, and I will spell SN correctly. Jace, what am I up to? GRC it is, mate. Yes. If you want, just, you know, what are the biggest GRC challenges? You can contribute to this word cloud, and we'll get a little bit more interactive. I've got a backlog of stories, which are all things that I've picked up from the GRC community. So tonight's show is, and I've got to shout out Andrew Aldbury Dorr, otherwise known as Upside Down Andrew, and you'll hear, if you've listened to the Between Two Functions podcast, he was kind enough to invite me on, and he told me that community service was his idea. He did it first, apparently, but we did have a conversation about that. We're not really sure who did it first, but we both had the same idea around the same time, and probably he had it first because he's 12 hours ahead, so that would make sense. But community service is just going through the ServiceNow community and trying to solve issues live. I'm focusing on the GRC community, and I'm trying to answer some questions, but it's taken me a lot longer than I'd planned per question because I'm just talking a lot. So I've given myself kind of 2 hours for tonight, and I'm just trying to answer this one by DDDT, which is a cool name, slightly disturbing avatar image, and I've cracked open a red stripe to celebrate closing my first story. Before you can start modifying, and the same with anything, before you start writing a script, you've got to understand the data model, what you're trying to achieve. Before you start building this template, you need to understand where these things work together. So control test is audit task, but audit task has got, it's talking about parent being, oh yeah, because that's an activity, so its parent is a walkthrough. Control test, its parent is engagement. I really dislike this approach, right? I don't know, this might be controversial. You know, I always get caught up in naming convention conversations here. For me, it would be very simple if parent field was only ever something of its own class. Okay? Now you might get away with that on this table because a walkthrough is of a class audit task in some way, but that's still not good enough. Parent should be its own class. So an incident's parent should only be an incident. If you want to link an incident to a problem, you use the problem field, right? And if you don't have a problem field, create a problem field and be explicit, be verbose. Don't use parent for any other task you want at the point here, because why would this parent be that and this parent be that? Now you might be able to explain it, but that activity's parent is this. It pains me somewhat. That flexibility is sometimes bad. Parent, okay. You've also got top task in. So the other complexity in audit and some of the other areas of GRC, which I think was a bad design decision, which was unknown at the time, but they were extended planned task, which comes from PPM. So if you didn't have PPM, you would see all sorts of activity in your sys logs. You've got top task in here as well. Top task, top task. Is that the label of it? What problems does being generic with parent cause? Confusion. Confusion is being the main thing, because imagine a world where you knew that parent was always a record of its own class, no argument. You would always know what's in parent. And if you wanted to point to another table, you called that other table reference field the name of the table that you referenced. Obviously that doesn't work quite for sys user, because you've got things like assigned to, you've got different kind of semantics, but parent I just think should always be of its own class. I'd love to have examples of where that shouldn't be the case. Imagine if on here this field had this table had a field called engagement. I would know that engagement was a reference to engagement, and I could always go to engagement and get my engagement from that engagement field, not sometimes look at parent. Yeah, maybe I think about these things too much. Anyway, parent is what I need. So where were we? Control test. So control test belongs to engagement by parent. I'm up for debate on this, by the way, Jay. So I like to throw things out there and get feedback on it, and I'm happy to be told I'm wrong. Yeah, try to think of some. I'd love it. I'd like to have that debate, because it might just be I've seen it a couple of times. It's wound me up a little bit, and now I think that that's the answer, and I haven't thought of everything else. I just feel like parent, if it was its own class and it couldn't be anything else, you'd never have the question. That would be a fun discussion. Yes, let's do it, man. Let's do it. Did you see my comment earlier on audio synthesis? That's it was a slightly off topic conversation, but knowledge registration is open, people. Knowledge 2021. If get registered, there are some premium options available. Did I don't know if I said that. I don't know if I said that loud enough. Knowledge 2021 registration is open. Okay, get registered. I'll share the link. So on the engagement task, engagement template, the audit task can be accessed from down here. So if you want to know what controls you actually tested, you would do something like gevaluate. I'll just call this JVAR control tests. Engagement ID we've already got. So this is the other reason I don't like Jelly, because it's like, surely I've defined it there. Do I need to define it here? And I don't know if I can define it up there and share it. So I end up just copying and pasting and not really knowing. Control tests. I'm going to call this array control tests. I was looking at the Hungarian notation recently. It's already there. I've copied it. It's called control test. Because it's linking to issues. Right. Okay, it's only getting issues that are generated as control tests, not other issues. Look at that, it's got top task. I knew there was something called top task. Issue not blank. Okay, I don't care about that. I want to know what controls I've actually tested. So, I guess you would say state is not equal to skipped is 7, I think. That's closed complete. If I change that to, that's 3. 7 is skipped, yeah. So not skipped. That means you've tested it, right? If you closed complete, I did everything I planned to do. Closed incomplete, I started it, but I didn't plan to do. And skipped is I didn't even start it. I didn't bother. I didn't need to. That's how I read those things. So 4 and 7. So I'm always rubbish at this. Is it not like? Does that work? Or you could do, I'm always rubbish at converting these two. So it's not that, and add or condition. Did anyone watch the Creator Toolbox where I think it was Chuck and Andrew Barnes were trying to convert some stuff to glide query? I think that's a great way to kind of road test stuff. You know, take something that already works and see if it breaks in a new way. I'd love to see how glide query would solve this. I'd love to feel confident in using glide query to solve that. I'm sure that would be a bit easier, or at least look a bit nicer. But this is called control test. While control test.next, I'm going to go array.push control. I don't want to push the issue in there. I want to push the, is it item or is it called control? Imagine it was called control. That would be amazing. So here we've got a reference field that references the control. Guess what? It's called control. Control's not a task, so it would never be a parent. Test plan references test plan. I mean, it just seems magical. In here we want to say control. Now it is possible to test the same control twice in an audit engagement using 2 different test plans. So if I wanted to dedupe this, I can use an array function, or I could actually push it onto an object which kind of dedupes it along the way. Shout to Courtney for that one. I not really sure if that's what's intended, but it's great. You then have to do an object.keys to turn it back to an array. I like to do that. But I've got an array there. This isn't exactly going to print my stuff out because I then have to cycle through the array. So why do I even do this? I've got a control test query. Why am I doing that? Let's just put control test, and by doing that it returns it to this object up here. So where do I cycle through issues? If issue hit row count greater than this one, which goes down to there. It's just ugly, man. JVAR issues, JVAR control test. And this might be what James Neal was saying, you know, this is not what Jelly's intended for. It works, but it's a dark, very dark art. So that's testing it, and that's saying while next. I don't care what the class is. Control test JVAR get number GS short description recommendation doesn't exist on control test. Let's call that control and get, can I do get display value because it's a reference field. Control action plan's been added, so it has been updated recently. Get message action plan assigned to That will work. Response won't work. Planned end date would work. I'm not sure about all these. That's a row. Okay, so we've got table header, table data. The empty cells on purpose, or did I miss something? Assign to will work. Don't want, just get rid of that row. Java issue explanation doesn't exist. So that can go. I'm just going to save this, and let's see if I go back to my engagement. Did you contribute anything on here? What's your biggest challenges with GRC, Jace? Let's have a look. Setting up a RAM still. It's the one thing we haven't done, so just trying to check in. Yo, Satyaki, how's it going? I've missed loads in the chat, so apologies. Let's just see if this engagement thing works. Just going to refresh because I didn't really want to change. Oh no, it wasn't that I changed, it was something else. Export. I need to select these. Audit, default template. Have I got any control tests first of all? Audit tasks. Yes, I've got some. Although that's assuming top task works. Let's generate report. Do we see any control tests on here? Yep, there we go. Control test. Controls empty. Did I not? Just let me check that quickly. Control test. I put control. I've got a typo in there. Why did no one tell me? I haven't actually got that far down in the chat, so you might have done. Let's just check this. Do it again. Generate report. Did that fix it? Control. No. Didn't like it. Didn't like get display value. Control test get. Let's just do get value. No, it's got to get display value there. It should work. Okay, let's just check our data. For example, this one. Yeah, there's no display value. It's demo data. That works. You know, export XML. Go to hi DT. That's like date time. I don't know what it stands for. You can modify the audit report template using a bit of jelly. See it. Attach some updates to include. That's not skipped. Complete. Needs a bit of tweaking, I'm sure, but you get the idea, I hope. How do we attach? Add attachments. You know, if you're on the community and you've got screenshots, don't add them as attachments, because you've got to download the file to view the attachment. Insert image and it will embed it through the WYSIWYG editor. You can just see it. Let's just where did I save that to? Downloads. This one. Add. So another story. How do I change the audit report? That's complete. Let's take a drink, and I'm going to just catch up on the chat. So let's just put this. Oh, that moved. What happened? He might have just refreshed. Yeah, Satyaki. I did, but I felt like I just missed the bit. It's nice when the labels are the columns. Oh, do you know what? I thought Satyaki was saying he's a fan of my work. I was like, wow, thanks. No, he's a fan of Jace. I think we should all be fans of Jace, to be honest. The probe thing, yes. Oh, you think I've got the question answered? Things look good. Yeah, the question's answered, man. This is the thing. When I had the timer on, I had like a Pomodoro timer, and I was saying on my t-shirt sizes, like small, medium, large. I can't find my small ones, but a medium, I said 20 minutes. And to be honest, it takes me longer than 20 minutes to intro the issue. So I was rushing, trying to answer as many questions as possible, and that really reduced the quality of my answers. So here I'm taking the entire opposite approach and taking much longer than I should. Yeah, thanks Satyaki. Oh, Jace has added some stuff, so let's see if we can figure out what Jace added. Adoption. You know what? Adoption. I don't know if that was yours, but I was thinking that was probably one of the hardest things to deal with. Purpose. I think that's Jace's. I would guess that's yours, Jace, because I know we've spoken about GRC before. Processes and processes. Funny that's come up twice. Processes, purpose. So sometimes you use this Menti board to like try and bring ideas out from people, and then you've got to try and join the dots up as well, because you know, if you're seeing processes, it's nice anyway. Like I said at the start, nice to see that anybody even entered anything on here. But was that yours, Jace? Purpose. What is the point of GRC? That's a large one, mate. That's too big for this show. Purpose. Oh, you submitted 5. You know what? Purpose. I think process or processes was yours. Customizations. I'm not sure. Understanding. Process. Excellent. Yeah. So I mean that is big. These are big topics, but they're good ones. And I don't know that I'm going to answer all of this stuff tonight. How are we doing on time? We've got. Well, my sprint is running for 2 hours. Where does it tell you that on this board? Okay, it's just a guided board. Storyboard. Sprint planning. If we look at my sprint, 6 done, 6 left. That's points. Why can't I see? Here we go. Yeah, I'll give myself 2 hours for this sprint. Normally a sprint's 2 weeks, not in this world. 2 hours we've got. So I don't know that I can answer all of the things on the Menti, but it will feed in, and I think it's a nice visual. I'll share that as well. I've got a couple of things here. Hierarchy tree picker view not available. If this is the risk statement one, I think someone's already answered it, and I just wanted to validate it. So let's take a quick look. Yeah, it should be like it's an out of the box option. So if you've got a reference field, oh, guess what, Jace? On risk statement, there's a field called parent. Oh, right, so there's a table called risk statement, and its field is called parent. Guess what its parent references? SN. Okay, the table's not called risk statement, it's called risk definition, but that makes sense. It's just been relabeled to risk statement. you know, there's no rules on how long your sprint should be. It's like, if you don't know any better and you've just started, 2 weeks works. I think 2 weeks gives the ability to get all the ceremonies in if you're doing them. Obviously, in a 1 day sprint, I mean, you're only going to have one daily stand up, but you could have hourly checkpoints. And sometimes when we're doing hackathons, I treat like each day as a sprint. So I've got risk statement here. It's got a parent field on there. Guess what parent reference is? SNGRC content, but there's a reference qualifier. Okay, so it enforces it. But that is its parent class. So risk statement comes from parent. In that way, that's the same as task. But could the parent ever be something that's not a risk statement? Could it be a compliance? Oh, look at that, it's out of the box. It is there. Maybe that's changed recently. Yeah, I just think I'll keep banging on about it. I'm going to stop going on about it now. It's not a real sprint though, Jace. This is just asking. This is just I selected a bunch of stories that a bunch of questions from the community and posted them as stories. They're not real. It's not real development. I shouldn't have to build things each time. But look here, Naveen. It should be there out of the box on risk statement. I think that's new. I think that wasn't always there. So it'd be a dictionary override. Risk definition. Reference qualifier. Column name. Yeah, look, tree picker equals true. Let's just check. You don't always get a true view of this. Has this changed? Show versions. Why can't I see? Why don't I see versions in here? Configure related list. Well, versions is there, but it's probably omitted if empty, and therefore you have to go in through the list control because you can't right click on it and modify it now because it's not there. Sometimes that happens. You lose the versions if it's never been modified. I think if we went back to an old version of risk, it might not be there. This is not only helpful, it's correct, but it's not my question, so I can't mark it correct. Thanks, Naveen. Just validated. This is in here now on V12. Not sure if it was always there, so interested to find out from HP, which is a cool name if you're talking about the source. Not sure if it was always there, so interested to find out from HP what version. Just want to use the right pronoun. Version. Find out what version HP is using. Boom. I'm not going to take any. I'm not going to take any glory for that one. Naveen answered this. Just validated it. Yeah, even though nobody's going to access my instance and check. How are we doing? Done three out of 6. Sorry, 3 down, 3 to go. Happy Wednesday. This time last week, I didn't do the live stream. I did a premiere, and I think I think last week's premiere is probably one of the most popular videos that I've had on the channel in the time available. Now, it's not huge. For example, if I wanted to monetize this channel, I need to have something like 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of video watched in a year, and I've got like nearly 20% of the number of subscribers needed and nowhere near the amount of videos. But I got to about 120 views, I think it was, on the video last week in a week. I think that's my best performing video so far. It was 18 minutes long. I put chapters in there, and I've just remembered now that I haven't put stream markers in, so when I've done each issue I haven't done that, so going back and putting chapters in afterwards is a bit of a task, but I'll try and do that now. Let me just put a stream marker in right now. My video last week was how to pass your Quebec deltas, and I thought that might get a little bit of traffic. It's a little bit clickbaity, but I had some really positive feedback. I think actually Michael, who was tuned in, I think he said it was helpful. You know, what did you think of the premiere? Do you mean the feature, Jace, like using a premiere, or do you mean like what did I think of my own premiere? Like, I haven't liked my own video, if that's what you mean. I used the premiere once just to test it out, but because I normally stream around this time on a Wednesday, I was thinking maybe YouTube might like me if I wasn't available, that I still posted something and released it, and it also fitted in with like my obviously ever growing fan base that are expecting content from me each week now. That I wasn't available. I was having a barbecue with my parents in the garden because we're allowed to do so now. But Quebec deltas, I'd just done mine the day before, and I thought, hold on a minute, this is something that's like I think people stress about, and obviously we joke about, you know, people posting on LinkedIn like pass my deltas, pass my certification, but it's obviously something that is such a milestone for people, and it's very important. So I wanted to just talk about that and just show people kind of how I do it, and I don't really get stressed about deltas. I actually look forward to them. I think they don't even take that long really, but I always find something out doing a delta, and I think it's a great program. You can have a different debate about, you know, the fact it's now chargeable. Yeah, I didn't hang out in the chat too much. I had it on the phone, but I had guests around, but I was at the barbecue, and I did just commented in the chat a couple of times, and I missed it because it was filtered on top chat in my phone, and I wasn't logged in on my phone properly. So how did I comment on the chat? I'm not even sure how I did that. Anyway, I realised that once I changed the filter from top chat to all messages, I'd missed a load of comments from somebody. So that was a lesson learned. But yeah, I think the Premiere feature's good. If you're going to do short videos, maybe showing people that content's coming. I think I used the Premiere before to kind of clip out something from an existing stream and then premiered it, and that didn't really make much sense. I was just messing around. Let's switch it back to the screen, and I just want to test this. Where are we? Is it this one? Deep. Yeah, I did a little animation before. I was messing around with that. RJ, man, if you're watching this, where's my graphics? You said you were going to sort me out some graphics, and you went stone cold silent. Trying to retrieve indicator task for a control. I think this is a nice one because we can get a little scripting going on here, and it's not jelly. Yeah, if anyone's doing like graphics and stuff like that and want to get something on your portfolio, you know, here's a channel that needs some, I want some lower thirds, I want a little rolling Phil Goes Deep logo in the corner. Yeah, this is things I yearn for to make the channel better. I've got a little REST API I'm building, Jace, that was just the API works. I think if I hit it, let me see. Let me hit it from this URL. I'll just do it on here. Boom, look at that. I've got 3 in draft, 3 in complete. So I wanted to connect that and have that streaming at the bottom, like number of tasks. I pass in the sprint ID and it tells me the count of stories in each state, and then that would be scrolling along the bottom, but I never quite finished that in time, and that's why I was late starting. So that's another option. Let's close my console down, tidy those things up, and yeah, JavaScript. Let's go copy this in over here. Why are you not copying? There we go. Let's paste it, VS Code. Let's take a look at the script. Let's take a look at the question. What's the API for? I think I answered the question, didn't I? But yeah, it's just a scripted REST API on my dev instance, and then when I'm doing the stream, I have a shell script that runs a Python script that ingests the JSON and produces a text file, and then OBS accesses that text file and it changed live. I did some messing around with it before. Yes, yeah. I've watched some of them. You know what? I've got access to some of the Adobe Suite Creative Cloud stuff, but I don't have time to get good at that. I'd love to be good at it, but it's not my area as much as I'd like to. I actually wanted to do graphic design when I left school and ended up doing software development, so I do love it. But there's some people out here that are really good at it. I was actually speaking to a uni student that's a bit busy with uni work that's coming up, potentially going to be doing stuff. So shout to Jimmy. If things quieten down, we'll come back to that. Yeah, I'd really like to just jazz things up a little bit, but only with people's kind of like a bit organically. I don't want to. I haven't got a budget, so anyway, I'm trying to inactivate child content. Let's make a stream of it. Oh, thanks. I don't know how to say the name. TR1 Lux. Need to log off, but yeah, thanks. You've been on for an hour and a half. That's really nice. Thanks for staying tuned, Jace. Let's do it, mate. Let's do it. Jace is off now as well. Let's finish this. Thanks, guys. Thanks to everyone who's tuning in. We'll just answer this one last question. We're at an hour and a half. I'm trying to inactivate child content of a control when a control is retired, but I'm not able to fetch indicator task. Okay, this is audit report, but let's just do indicator task on here. And I think somebody already answered this a little bit. Mark, actually. So let's give him a helpful for getting involved. Yes, let's do it, Jace. I'm up for that, man. Trilux, yes, excellent. I was kind of reading it like that, but then I wasn't sure. Trilux, trying your luck. So something that might help would be a database view. So Mark's kind of on the right lines here. He's joining the tables up, right? So look at this image. Item, indicator, indicator task. But you don't need to do that because you're talking about a script here. If you were trying to get a report of the data and display that and make it consumable from the end user perspective, then you might want a database view. I still don't think it's necessary because like he said here, SNGRC item, the thing is, item is the base table, so you can't always access the extended table. So if we're talking only about controls and not talking about risks, because risks is the kind of sibling, yeah, over on that side or over on that side, depending which way you want to put it. This is an extension. Control has indicator. Control has control objective, right, as a kind of parent, and control objective has indicator template. So similarly to what we just talked about in audit, where a control objective, that's kind of up here perhaps, this is showing wrong because these are extensions. Okay, this is an extension, but this is a reference. Okay, so from a data modeling perspective, we would change that to a crow's foot somewhere down there. Yeah, so a control objective has a control has an indicator, a control objective has an indicator template, and an indicator template has an indicator. An indicator has an indicator task, one or many, and indicator task and indicator result have got an interesting relationship to each other, because it really depends. I'll tell you what, whoever designed the APIs for the indicators, I love it. It's literally one of the, I think, best, like the strategy pattern that's been used, and the APIs. Now that said, there's a performance issue with indicators that we can solve quite easily by executing at the indicator template level, and not indicating every single indicator every single time, like running the same query every single time and then checking it for the reference field. We could run the indicator at the template level and then only like cycle through it and match against the indicators. Not a difficult change to make to improve performance. But whoever's designed that strategy pattern is great. If an indicator is a manual indicator, that means the decision has to be made manually. Did this indicator pass or fail? The indicator, if it's a automated, like a basic or scripted, the result is calculated and decision made by the system. So when it's manual, there's a task, the task gets assigned. Then when that task gets closed, that generates an indicator result. So this is like a staging, if you like, for the indicator decision, for the indicator result, and gives the ability for anybody in the organization to respond to that. And it's great. You know, I give the example for customers to say, like, maybe the security guard or the receptionist might do a walk around and check that the fire extinguishers are all in the right place. That could be an indicator task, right? Yes or no? Has it passed or failed? So indicators, if I'm looking at a control, when the control retires, I want to deactivate the indicator task. So you won't be deactivating the indicator task here. I'm trying to inactivate evidences. I don't know what we mean by evidences, because indicators and the supporting data, they've got a passive relationship, right? It's just a snapshot of the evidence that generated the indicator. It's not something that the indicator is responsible for. When a control is retired, so let's look at this. Okay, so given you are already writing a script, it won't be necessary for a DB view, but the data model that I never know how to say that, Quist. Yeah. Demonstrates the relationships you need. However, what you are saying needs a bit more clarity, because when you say inactivate, and I'm going to say deactivating the indicator task, this should mean closing it, skipping it, because it is a task, whereas an indicator does have active flag that determines whether it will be executed again. Executed again. So if you have deactivated the indicator, no more indicator tasks should be generated. If you have outstanding indicator tasks that belong to a control which is now retired, and the indicator task should no longer be worked on, then it should be closed, incomplete, or skipped. Assuming that the script should be something like, let's just validate this. Now, I looked at this script briefly when I was copying and setting up my backlog. I did like the fact that it created a function in here. So who's the person that's posted this? Sorry, Prakash. Yeah, I like this function. I do take issue a little bit with some of the naming conventions, but I understand it. Rec is a record. You know, I'm a little bit anal on the naming conventions, but this doesn't make sense from here. Mark inactive. Okay, I thought I saw it being, oh, it's commented out. Deactivate test plans. So you've got, right, so what have we got here? This is a business rule on control, right? So when a business rule changes, current item ID that's the control ID. This is telling you the class name. If class name equals control, okay, you could do this with a switch. Let's just switch it up a little bit. Switch class name. Okay, in case SN compliance control, and this will be do, and then we'll break, and then case SN risk do break. Now we don't need a default really, because if it's not one of those things, then it doesn't fit our current use case. If it's control or risk, so actually you're ordering, and sometimes I don't like this to drop through, but in here you've got this. So if we do it the other way around, no, this will work. There, okay, with no break. So control will execute this. It doesn't break, and it drops through. I think it will drop through and run this as well, but only for risk it will run this. So that would deal with some of that complexity. So we tidy that up. Mark inactive. Table field item. Table field item. I'm not going to take too much issue, but if rec is valid, good, check, nice defensive. I would do it this way around. Look at that, all the way down there, hanging around. Get rid of that. Get rid of that, and return false here, and say if rec is not, if it's not valid, then return false. And then we can do that and just tidy our code up. Once we start enclosing brackets and nesting brackets, fail early. Fail early. That's what I say. Simples that up. Right. Record field item. I mean, you're checking that the table's valid. You're not necessarily checking that the query's valid and the field's valid, but you're passing the field in. You're also passing the table in. So query while it's next, add info message. You're assuming indicator here. Get row count. That's going to be the same row count every time. Rec set value active true. Oh, that's horrible. GR indicator task. You don't need to do this, I don't think. Well, come on. Let's use camel case. See, that's what I'd do. You see, you got GR there. I would have called this GR rec. If you're going to call it rec, right? And when you've got a generic table, it's quite difficult. Where do we have rec before? There, and I think they're the two. Yeah, so I'll do it that way. But that's just me. There's an update. Unable to deactivate grec.get value number. Why don't you do item task? Okay, indicator. They all have number actually, so in this case they've all got number. That will work. I like the fact you're using get message as well, international localization. It's good. Okay, but this is for a task, not for a test plan. So that won't work for test plan. So let's just comment that back out, because that needs some consideration. I want to get my indicators. So I'm saying in here, indicator, mark indicator inactive. Well, you're not marking the indicator inactive here. grec.setValue. I think I had. Did I delete it out of the code? Yeah. We set active true. Set value active. So I use single quotes. False. Right. Set inactive. So here you'd be setting the test plan or the indicator to inactive. That's great. Then you would say indicator task why did you haven't done an update there? You got a query, okay, but you're not cycling through that query. I would break this out. Okay, there we are. That's in function here. Function close open indicator tasks. And probably put the indicator ID in there. And I'll just put that. In there. Don't need item ID because there's a one-to-many on that picture. Indicator task belongs to indicator. You don't need item. Item belongs to indicator belongs to item. In fact, I've got that wrong in that way because it belongs here. Which means it can belong to either, which is fine. So there's no, okay, so now we've got something to update. We don't need GR indicator task doc. You shouldn't use get row count, but I understand why you're doing it. Don't put it in a business rule. Don't put info messages in your business rule. I know it's just for debugging purposes. You can debug a business rule using script debugger. grec glide record table, add query, if grec next, while grec next, set value. Let's just tidy this. No? Okay, it's because it's not embedded. You know what? GS add error message, but you didn't put in here due to. If you turn that into an array, which one do we need to be? There. You can also say grec.get last error message. I think that's what it's called. Due to error. So if you're going to put that in, that's nice to have that. You attempt to update it. grec set false. And then you can say close open indicator tasks grec dot get unique value, and I would say if table, there's a lot of different if statements going on here. If I'm saying a negative here, checking a string of, you know, a set of different conditions, I would string up a load of OR statements and return false on a one-liner. If I'm kind of doing this if, and it's even if it's only one thing, like here, sometimes it just makes it a bit easier if you've got a lot going on, a lot of nesting, to just use those brackets. Even, you know, makes it easier to expand on afterwards. If table equals, then close open indicator task for that, okay, which means that you could then open that back up, yeah, and it doesn't matter, it's not, if that comes through, it's not going to try and close open indicator tasks. So here we close open indicator tasks, but we don't. We want to add query. We want to gr indicator task to add active query. Okay, we don't want to start touching existing ones that are closed. And we want to say query gr indicator task dot. Try and remember here, can you do this set value state 7 skipped. Let's just check this on the instance indicators. What we're doing, opening another window. Have we got any that are not basic? Filter out. Yes, some manual ones. Just be aware that I did potentially break this. Potentially broke this. Now look at that, open tasks. With my full flow project, that was just a bit of fun. Yeah, look, it's running every day. State open. Okay, so if I was to change the state to 7, that's cancelled. Lovely. And if I cancel it, I don't think that creates an indicator result, which is fine. So let's look at script. State 7 cancelled. You can't set additional comments using set value. Let's do gs.getMessage just for localization purposes. Additional comments equals auto closure of to be honest, you could stack it that way rather than putting this in the script here. You've got a business rule. I assume it's a business rule running on control that says when a control gets retired, then deactivate your test plans and your indicators. What you could then do is put a business rule on indicators and say when an indicator gets retired, deactivated, close all open tasks. Okay, make sure you're using after business rules, and that would allow you to put a little bit more meaningful information in here. We wouldn't be trying to say, well, indicator task, I'm only passing indicator ID, so therefore I want that number, you know. I think in here we can do indicator task dot update multiple. Now I don't often use this. Let's return. It's always good to return something, so we return that. That should work. I'm fairly comfortable that would work. So if I go to my indicator, and I go to my control, what's my control got? Has he got any test plans? No. Let's create it. Let's go to add another control objective. Okay, we won't do it right now. Let's just configure business rules, and probably need to change scope to GRC policy and compliance default. Let's just create a business rule now. Oh yeah, 1:55. I said sprint's going to close in 5 minutes. Closure of sub records advanced. Do after. Make sure it's definitely happened. After update, active changes to false. Let's do state changes to retired. It's a bit more explicit, but changes to retired. Boom. In here, execute rule. Doesn't like there. Yeah, you see, it expected a break statement. However, I want to drop through. Okay, I want that there. It's intentional. It's good that you called it out. Thanks. let's see if this works. And you know, I said you don't need to like put all your statements in. Fire up debugger. Probably got lots of stuff in there. Oh, I haven't moved this one to in progress. I'm not keeping my sprint board up to date. Prevented me because I say question is answered. Dun dun dun. Assign it to me. Points. I said this is 1 point. You know, I need to get realistic. Dun dun dun. Script debugger. Got my business rule. I need to go back to my indicator. No, back to my control. Got a breakpoint on there. If I click retire, breakpoint is in. My business rule has been fired. That's excellent. And then we can look at our runtime variables. Yep, so switch class name has come in for control. Marking active is passing in table, audit test plan is valid, add query, what's field, control, item, query, while it's next. There is none. We knew that, but it's dropped through, you see that? So it's going to run indicators as well. So that switch statement with a drop through or pass through, I hope I'm using the right term, that will work. Let's pass in here. Okay. Oh, we've got some. Set value to false on the indicator. It is indicator. Close indicator tasks. Got an indicator ID. Add active query. Query. Set state. Now, I just don't know whether this works. Hopefully that doesn't take me into the business rule on before workflows and so on, because sometimes script debugger takes you down a massive rabbit hole and we really go deep, and we don't have time for that right now. The sprint's about to close. Did I click it? Sometimes I'm left wondering, did I click script debugger? Did that work? We're talking about 40 odd records, so it maybe won't be instantaneous. Something's happening. Oh, I completely forgot what I was going to do tonight as well. I was going to do a live Zoom and actually publish the Zoom ID. Didn't work, but yeah, shout out to Mike Cook. He's just posted on Slack. Yeah, thanks Mike. Thanks for joining in on the show. Great to have you. Thanks for taking part in the biggest GRC challenges board. I'm just waiting for this script to run now, but sometimes this happens with debugger. There we go, it did work. Right, okay, so if I just go back to my breakpoints that I was in, what was it, business rule? Closure sub records, this one. Closure there. There you see, I haven't actually done the update, so I'm closing tasks. Closing indicator task, and then it might not actually let me update. So at this point at this point I've now closed tasks. I assume that's worked because it took so long, but I've done this the wrong way around. Sometimes that click is Did it happen? I'm just going to play that out. Just click play. Okay, while record equals next. Yeah, that's going to keep coming back round, isn't it? I'm going to end the debugger. That looks like it's working. So on here, this control gone to retired. Indicators gone to inactive. That's not a manual one, is it? Yeah, that is a manual one, but it didn't have any tasks. Is it because they're not open tasks? Yeah, the tasks aren't open, which is good, but I just wanted to see. So if I say SNGRC indicator task.list and order by updated, universal request. Did you see that? Universal request. That's something to look at. Look at these, cancelled. It didn't push to the. It didn't push. To the additional comments, did it? Additional comments. Okay, so I didn't get my additional comments in there, but it did cancel. That works. I'm taking a drink. It's Wednesday. In the UK, it's 11 o'clock PM, 2300 BST. It's British summertime. It's time to wrap it up now, and I think we're very low on stream viewers right now. Anyway, what we're doing, insert code. This one. Change it to JavaScript. However, the closure of open indicator tasks before the update of the active on itself is wrong, and I would even go so far as breaking out the function for close open indicator task to its own business rule on indicator when it moves to inactive. Make sure these are both running after, and it should work. Indicate task dot different comments equals. I don't think the additional comments update worked, but you get the idea. Dum dum dum. Then we're going to say that is complete. So what have we done? 4 out of 4 done, 2 remaining. That's a success. Let's just wrap it up tonight. I'm getting a bit tired. Let's say thanks to everyone for tuning in. The themes that we got on the biggest challenges, I think, were very relevant. Great to have some people joining in. Sorry, Jimmy, didn't get to UCF. You need to be on the stream, I think, to push that up. Just keep posting UCF. That would be huge. There, we'd have to talk about it. Yeah, this is community service, so really focusing on people on the GRC community, trying to give back a little bit for those people that are just getting up to speed. What else have we got to talk about? Knowledge 2021 registration is open. I've registered today. CreatorCon is going to be interesting. Shout out to Raf, who's doing something on the hackathon side for our team this year. I'll wait to hear a bit more about that. Actually, I could. Oh no, sorry, it's a different screen. So, a few things didn't get to tonight. The REST API. It looks like the next session is going to be, or at least one of the next sessions, because I've also got some other ideas. I want to talk about natural language query. Shout out to Justin Loftus if you check out the UP3 blog post. He's got the natural language search in his top picks of Quebec. That's, I think, the third time I've seen that mentioned, and I just want to explore it because I never use it. I just keep going to the condition builder, and I know I'm missing a trick. I think it's a game changer for customers there. I want to see what's going on with that one. What else? That's about it. Yeah, let's try and keep it number one on the leaderboard for the GRC community. Thanks to everyone that's keeping the community active, getting involved in that. Any feedback, if you want to get on the show, if you want to get involved, just give me a shout. But otherwise, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.